Hello and welcome to Marcodex. My name is Mark and today we continue working on our MERN Auth application. In today's video we will build the login method and adding authentication to our server. Just to be prepared, this video will be almost an hour long, so let's not waste any time further and jump right into it. Alright, so let's create a login method and in the controller. So that's the first thing we're going to do. But before we're going to do that, we want to install passport.js and we want to install bcrypt to make sure that everything is set up correctly. Now for bcrypt, what we're going to do is we're going to hash the password and we're going to see how is that going to work. So first let me shut down that. And what I want to do is do npm install. We're going to grab bcrypt for hashing, and I want to use passport and passport-wt, which is like where I'm going to handle my authentication. It's going to be a JWT token. All right, so let's install that. While that is installed, let's do a login method in the controller. Oopsie, terminal. And this is going to be like an async method as well as the login or the logout, the sign up. Also going to do a try catch method. Always use try catch with an async function, always. And I think I'm doing it in the wrong spot. So let's do that. And then from here, I'm just going to grab from the request.body, I'm just going to grab the username because when people log in, they're going to use their username and the password. And this is basically grabbed from the request.body, just deconstructing. And then in here, I'm just going to do a find one method from Mongoose. So we're going to await user from the user model and then dot find one, and we're just going to use username. And basically like what I just did here, like this is like exactly equals to this. So it's just like an E6 syntax shortcut. So if there is no user, that means if there is no user, that means there is something like the login information, there is a problem with the login information. So either it's like, yeah, we're going to say probably like if we couldn't find it, it means like the user actually doesn't exist. So maybe we could send them and tell them like, hey, this user doesn't exist. User not found. Try to sign up instead. So now I'm just going to go back to the model, the user model. And from there, I'm just going to create, I'm going to grab bcrypt because I want to create like a hash password. So, because basically now, if we look at the password that we just created right here, if I do sign up, I need to run the server again, npm run dev. If I sign up, we could see the password is actually like text, and we don't want that. We want an actual hashed password. And we're going to use bcrypt for that, bcrypt library for that hashing. So we're going to require bcrypt. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the pre method. Pre methods in Mongoose are methods that used before you save or update a user. And that's the cool thing about it, because what we want to do, simply like this, when a user tries to log in or sign up, when they create a password or basically log in, they're going to enter a text password. And when we capture it in the database, we don't want to store it before we hash it. And also when they log in, we want to hash it to check it with the one, their password, we want to hash it, and then check it with the one that we exist in the database. And then from there, if that matches, we could send it back and tell them like, yeah, you're allowed to get in. So because we had like, we want to first apply that to the signup method. So I'm going to use an async function in here. And unfortunately, we cannot use arrow functions in here because Mongoose is still not updated for that. So we're going to do a try catch. And then we're going to do if this dot is modified password. And this is basically like if they are not updating their password. Also, this dot is modified is already a method that has been declared for the pre-save. So we're going to just say return next. And what does that mean? It basically will bypass this. So if it is like not modified, then move on to the next step. So now we're going to create the hashed password. And in here, we're going to do an await because we want to await bcrypt to do the hashing. We're going to use a method called hash. And then we're going to do this dot password. And we're going to give it a salt. And a salt is basically like an algorithm, we could call it, that hashes the password. You don't want to make it too long. You don't want to make it like 16 because it will take too long to hash the password. 10 is kind of like what people kind of use all the time, developers per se. So this dot password will be, so first we hash the password, right? And then now this dot password, which is this password, will become the hashed. And gonna put parentheses just for best practices, like people say. Cool. And in the error, we're gonna just do return next, passing the error. Also, the other method, it's gonna be kind of the same, but this is like when a user updates. So they're trying to update their password. So we're going to use update one method. And also async function, we're going to pass in everything. And in here, we're going to do if this. And you could definitely find what I'm typing right here. You could exactly find it in Mongo's JS library. So you could just find it in their documentation if you want to go ahead and read. But because I wrote it a lot, I just memorized it. And then this will check if the password is updated. We can create a hashed password again. But this time is for the updated one. And we're going to await this dot update dot password. We're going to give it a salt of 10, same thing. And we're going to say this dot password is equal to hashed pass. And then the return next, it will be here. And here we could just say next error. So what I would like to do is actually to create a method, and I wanted to attach this method to this user. The reason I like to do that because I like to track the verified password within the database, like within the model of the database. I don't want it to be like, I don't want to use the validation in the controllers. I just want to create it in here within the same database. So I'm going to say user schema, and I will use the methods. And I'm just going to create something called verify password. So this could be like whatever. You could call it whatever, and it's still going to work. This is not something predefined. You're just going to use that. You could just name it whatever you wanted. To me, verify password actually makes sense. So again, we're going to use an async function. And we're just going to basically pass in the plain password in here. So whatever the password that we're going to pass in is going to be like just the text password. And in here, we're going to just return bcrypt.compare. So bcrypt does have a compare method, and we're going to pass in the plain password to compare it with this .password. So what will happen is basically that user schema, or the bcrypt method compare, it will take two variables. The first one is the plain password that you're going to pass in, and it will compare it to this one. Now, as you know, the password that we stored in our database is actually now hashed. So what actually the bcrypt package will do, it will, the compare method, it will basically hash this and compare it to the actual password. Cool. So now we can go back to our user controller. The whole reason we just did that is basically to use the verified password in the login, because we want to use that in the login method, and we want to compare to see if the password is valid. So we're going to do const is password valid, basically just like creating a variable, and this, it will await user dot verify, because as you saw user in here, so now this is the user model. We're going to say verify, what did we call it? The user verify password. So we're going to say user I did not copy that. All right. So we're going to do user.verify password, and what I'm going to pass in, the password, plain old password. Great. So now, if there is an error or there is no password, well, basically like if this returned as false, because it didn't verify the password, now we can just say like, hey, your password is wrong. However, for more security purposes, you don't want to say your password is wrong. So I'm just going to keep the same method. And instead of 400, actually, we need to change this to 403 because this is like login error. So I'll keep the same error for both. And I'll change this to the login information is wrong. Now the reason being for that, I do prefer to make like the validation for username and password the same, so no one knows where is the error at. So people can figure out what's the problem. They will try. I believe in them. Awesome. So if the password actually worked and everything is great now at this point, like the username exists and the password is actually legit, we can just grab the user and we could just create a user of a JSON object of that user, and we're going to use the method to JSON. Because you remember, like in our Express app, we just said that we wanted to use JSON for all of that. That's why we're changing everything to a JSON. And then in here, we're going to send the user, and we're going to send user JSON. And in the catch method, we can just grab the same thing, but instead we're going to do a 500. And in the 500, we can just give an error of, I don't know, error has, I'm not good at this, so don't judge me. I'm not good at those messages. It's not my thing. Error has, we have an error. We have an error. We don't know what to do. We can just give an escape character for that one. Cool. So now we have our login method. So let's try it. Now, of course, if I try it in Insomnia, let's actually duplicate this. Oh, before that, we need to create the route. We need to create the actual route. So in the route, what we're going to do is we're just going to use the same thing as this one. Actually, let's copy those two lines. And then instead of sign up, we're going to say login. And we're going to say login and login in here. Great. That's it. So let's test this out. Let's see if it's gonna work. So actually, let's first create. Let's create a user. Let's call it Marco with a pass of pass, and let's send it and see what's gonna happen. We have an error. Let's see what's happening. Something broke. bcrypt is not defined. Is that in user? Aha, I didn't actually import it in the user. So I did though. Oh, misspelling. Let's copy that. Bcrypt, and let's see if I actually misspelled it somewhere else. Awesome. So let's do sign up again. And now we can see we have the hash password. Great. So now let's use the same thing. Let's duplicate this and change this to login. And we're going to change this to login. And now hit the send. We got our user. Great. Let's change the password. Hit send. We're going to have login information is wrong. Change Marco to maybe like Mark11. Login information is wrong. Great. And now we logged in. Cool. So now we just created the login method. Now what we want to create is actually the JWT. So we're going to create a service, and the service will basically use this strategy from JWT strategy to create a token. Each time you log in, it will attach a token to your user, and this token will actually be like an encrypted token that contains all the information about the user. And then we can send this token to the front end, and we can store that as a cookie or a local storage, and then we can verify if the user logged in using that. So this is how I'm trying to actually deal with the login, is just sending that token. So let me think about this. What do I want to create first? Do I need to create the service first? Or should I just create the controller for that? Let me think. Well, yeah, I think let's create the service, and let's create the passport. Let's do that. So let's create a file. And oops, this is in the wrong place. No file. And then we're going to call it services. And we're going to call this one file is called passport.js. And then we're going to import passport from passport. And then we wanted to do some deconstructing. We're going to grab strategy and JWT strategy. And also we're going to use extract strategy. And this is like just basically like a naming reconvention. Basically, I'm just changing the word JWT or strategy to JWT strategy. It's just easier to read. And you can find it in passport.js. Obviously, you could find like the whole documentation over there. And then we're going to do require passport.jwt. And then what I want to do, we're going to use like something called a secret, a JWT secret. This library requested a secret from you. So we're going to go here in the config, and we're just going to call this JWT secret. And the secret will be same thing like that, kind of. And we're going to call this as well JWT secret. But we actually want it to be capitalized. JWT secret or a text. Super secret. Great. Now, of course, in production, that's why I put the process.env, because in production, your EMV is going to be, your environment variable is going to be, it should be at least 36 encryption or 36 character encryption or whatever you want to do, like to encrypt that. You don't want to have it as like super secret like that. And you know, I'm shocked some developers actually just keep that as that. I've seen a lot of developers just keep super secret. I mean, super secret is mentioned in JWT library, and I guess like some are lazy and they just want to keep that as is. But in production, just make sure to change that to the actual password or the secret that you want to create. Great, so let's go back to password, and let's close everything to the right. And let's bring that here, do some cleanup. Close to the right. Just easier to go back and forth, so we don't need config anymore. Great. So now I'm gonna grab the user from model, models, and then I'm gonna grab the passport library. I'm gonna use the use method. And in there, we're gonna create a new JWT library or a strategy. And this strategy is gonna use extract JWT. And we're gonna use the method from auth header as bearer token. And this is a method. And our secret will be our secret or key. Is it secret or key? Secret or key will come from config dot JWT what did we call it? JWT strategy. Config JWT secret. And we want to import that. I made the typo. Yay. Awesome. So let's fix that pretty quick. It's actually a new strategy, and then we're gonna have like the function in there, and this one we're gonna call it JWT from request. Like that. That makes sense. Cool, cool, cool. And then, and by the way, like this is like, I'm not memorizing it. You can find it in passport.js. You can see it in here, in the documentation, under authentication, and it should be under JWT. Let me see. Yeah, you can find it in here. There we go. And you'll see what I'm just typing. It's all in here. So moving on. So this use method takes two parameters. The first one, the new strategy, and the other one is going to be an async function. And this async function will have JWT payload. A payload is basically like the data that comes back, and a done. The done will basically, what it will do, it will just mark us and tell us like, hey, everything is done and ready. So in here, what I want to do, I want to store the user, or grab the user, which is going to await user.find1. And this find one, I will grab the find one from the JWT._ID. And how did I know that? Well, basically the payload, when you extract that, when you create this new strategy, what will happen, because what we're going to do is actually we're going to put this passport strategy within the router. So each time you create a request, it will go through this strategy. And then like your payload will always have that user ID wherever they move. So we're going to look for that ID. If there is no user, we're going to return done. And the done is a method. And we could just like pass in a new error in there. And it could just pass in whatever error it should be. And we gotta return it as false. And if user exists, we're gonna do done. And I don't wanna return any message, but I do wanna send back the user just to verify. So because this is an async function, I forgot actually to do a try catch. So let's do that pretty quick. Come on, autocomplete. And let's cut all that, put it in there. And in here, I'm just gonna return done, maybe like actually just the same as this one. And we could do model.exports equal to null. Cool. So we just created our passport.js. Now what I want to do is actually create a middleware. And the middleware, it will be it will happen in the routes. So each time the user log in, and I will create like a dashboard path. This dashboard path, it should verify the user if they're logged in, so we could send them all the information they need. Other than that, we can just kick them out or just not tell them like you're not authorized. This middleware will reside in the route between, like when I create like router, that post or get, let's call it dash for now. It will reside here, right? And then we could pass in whatever controller or whatever like we're looking for, whatever data that we want to show the user, we could pass it in here. And we could say like, so if the user was not authenticated, this middleware would kick them out and will not send them that data. So that's the whole point of the authentication. So now we created that, we need to create middleware. And in the middlewares, we're gonna have an index.js. And in here, we're gonna grab our passport. And we're gonna say require passport. We're gonna model.exports an object, and I'll create a method called is authenticated. And this will have 3 parameters instead of 2. Rec and res and the next. And that's where if, you know, everything went bad, it will just like, you know, block it. And if everything is actually working, this will actually send them back or just like send them moving them forward. So in there, we're gonna grab passport dot authenticate. And then we're gonna just verify the strategy, as you can see here, authenticate strategy as a string, and we're using JWT. And we want to have 2 methods, or we're gonna get like 2 callback. One is gonna be like 2 arguments. The first is gonna be an error. The second is the user. So if the user is validated, then we're gonna have the user. Otherwise, we're gonna have an error. And then in here, we're gonna just do adding back the request, the response, and the next. It's like move on with your life if everything went well. In the passport, we will check if there is an error. And usually I do like to check if there is no user. You don't know. Sometimes maybe like we get passed in an empty user. So if there is no user, an error for any reason, we're gonna just send back status of 4 or 3. And we're gonna then send an error saying that you shall not pass. Else, we could say request.user. That's where I showed you before in the controller. I said probably I'm gonna send the user in the request. That's why I put that like that. So let's get back to here. Request.user equal user. Cool. So this is our is authenticated method. Next, what we're gonna do, we're probably gonna use this middleware in here in the dash. So like if a user basically like went in and logged in, we're gonna use that middleware in there. So let's do that. So let's do login. Maybe we could just call it as dash. Actually, I think I can't because the index is user. So let's do user dash. And then we can just do that. And then in the middleware, let's import that. And we're gonna say const. We're gonna do some deconstructing. Is authenticated equals to require middlewares. And in the is authenticated, we're gonna add this as we said in here. So this will become the barrier between this path and this data. And the data is going to be user controller dot find by ID. Let me just make sure that's the exact what I wrote. Cool. So now once we're here, what I want to do, a couple of things. The first thing is to add the authenticated in here, is authenticated in here, because I want to use it like on through the whole app. So I'm going to say app.use. And then what I'm going to just do middlewares, or just say is authenticated. Actually, it's authenticated. Hopefully that actually imported it. There we go. It did. All right. After we send in the app.js, we added the passport or is authenticated a method to the whole, Express app. What we want to do is actually create our JSON web token to send it through the sign up right here and send it through the login. And there is a library, an npm library called JSON web token, this is the one that we're going to use. And JSON web token, which is the JWT library, this will take care of all the hashing and storing and all that. So we can just basically create that on the fly, and we could decide how we could encrypt that token. So let's actually first install it. npm install JSON web token. And then we're going to import it. And we're going to say require, not JWT, but JSON web token. And I'll create a function. And this function will be called as JWT sign user. You could name it whatever. Again, I'm not good at variable names. Stop judging me. So let's do what am I going to do is actually return JWT method with adding a method inside of it, which is called sign. What I'm going to add in, I'm going to pass in back the user. And also what I need to pass is the secret that we created in the config. So that also we wanted to import. So we're going to say config dot what did we call it? JWT. I keep forgetting that. Let's go back to here, JWT secret. Let's get back to here, do that. And also we're going to say const config equals to require config. And that's why I said, you could speed up this video because it's going to be slow. Lastly, we want to add the expires in. So, because the token you have to give like an expiry to it. You cannot just like assign a token without giving it an expiry. Well, I mean, you can, but it's safer to have an expiry. What I would like to do is like actually keep it like for 1 week. No certain reason. I just don't like user to get kicked out. And in 1 week, we could create a variable, call it 1 week. And this 1 week will be, so the week is 7 days multiplied by 24 hours multiplied by 60, because this is the expires and takes in milliseconds or in seconds. So multiplied by 60, which is the minutes an hour, and 60 seconds in an hour. So that will give us a 1 week, roughly. So now in our sign up in the user here, we're going to send a token, and this token will use the JWT sign user, and we're going to pass in, you guessed it, user object JSON. Let's actually clean this up a little bit. Same thing for login. Right here. Cool. And now let's see. I can add, I mean, I don't have to, but I can add in the, just to see the token. Probably I can add like, you know, send it like in the user, but no reason. We could just like grab the user in here and see it. So let's test this out and see if everything what we did is actually working. And we have an error. Res that toast. You're gonna see a lot of typos in this video. Let's see. Okay. We have an error. We don't know what to do. Let's see. This error is for the login. Let's see what's happening. It's an empty object, so probably it couldn't find anything. Let's see. Oh, I bet it's gonna be because we need to probably do like a new creation of an account. All right, let's see. I'll be right back. Let's check this. All right, found the reason. This was actually user object JSON, and it is user JSON. So I think for safety, let's keep it the same thing as the login, as the sign up. So now if we log in, we could see that, and also we could see the token. Now let's go ahead and check this token. And to do that, we can just go to the JWT website, because I want to show you the payload, like how it looks like. We could paste it in here, and you could see I have all the information sent in that single token. And that's the whole purpose of a login. Like, this is how you can verify is the user logged in. And of course it shows you like which hash or which algorithm is using to use this, to create this encryption out of all these information. And that's it. We just created our middleware, and we just added it to our login information and our sign up method. All right, lastly, we need to add, I forgot actually to add the service passport, right, this, to the app. We need to hook it up. So basically we're just gonna call services, and then we're gonna call passport. Great, so let's save that. And now we can test our is authenticated middleware, and how we can do that if, let's make sure the login is actually working. What we're gonna do is grab, probably gonna duplicate this one, the login. We're gonna change it to a get request. We need to probably rename this settings, and then we're gonna call it get. and user, and then this is the dash. I'm gonna save that. Now, in the login, we receive this token, right? So this token is the bearer token to make sure that the authentication is actually working. So we're gonna go to the Auth tab, we're gonna choose bearer token, and we're gonna paste this token that we just saw in the login right here in the authentication for the dashboard. Now, if I change this to dash, what am I expecting to see is the user information. Otherwise, if this bearer token does not exist or is something different, then it means it's not working. So let's see. Let's say it. And it says you shall not pass. Let's make sure what's happening. All right, be right back. All right, so it took me a while. I've noticed that in here I used user.find1 instead of find by ID, and that's like a bad typo. It just gave me an error and it didn't let me honestly to move forward, because what I'm looking for is not like the user by email. I'm actually looking for the user by the ID. So that being said, let me see a couple of things moving around. I was just playing around to see like what's happening. But yeah, if I go and sign in with a user, okay, we can see that I have a token, and I can copy this token, go back to my dashboard and paste it in the bearer token again. And if I hit send, I can receive everything else. And if I change anything, just this token, I just change it for any reason, I will see you shall not pass. And that's basically it. We're now done with the server, hopefully completely. I wanted to add a couple of things more, which I honestly don't like for now, for like the validation. It's basically like on the user controller, in our login, and in our sign up. Now, because I thought to make the user as an email, I need to do some sort of like validation. Also, my password. So like right here, right now, you could see like I have like password, like just PASS, and that's kind of not great password to store. I don't have like any validation for a password. Like I wanted to force the users to basically have, let's say, like, you know, at least one major character, or like capital letter character, a lowercase character, like 2 or whatever, you know, like any kind of like validation you could see on any website. So I want to add that. So I can use a validation method called joy. And joy is basically a package that could like build up a good kind of like error catching and validation methods to our, you know, like username and login and all of that. I just lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. But yeah, we could just like verify a schema, and then we could just say exactly what we want from that object key, or the username or password depends on what we're looking for. So for the password, for example, we can actually set up some rules to verify that I wanted, for example, like one, you know, big letter, you know, one lowercase, 2 numbers, or like you could just specify exactly what is the things that goes into the password. So we're gonna apply that. All right, so let's go back in here, and instead of going back and forth, well, yeah, I was thinking like basically just to add a new terminal to actually start. There we go. And I could just say npm install joy. And once that's installed, now in the middleware, I'm going to add a method, and I will call it signup. And in the signup, it will take 3 params. Rec, res, and next. And in here, I will create a schema. And this will come from the library joy, and I'll import it in a sec. And I could say object, And in this object, here is our validation, where like basically our validation is going to live. So let's do const joy equal require joy, however you want to pronounce it. And the username, I'll add also a username validation because, you know, I wanted to make it as an email. And I wanted to verify email. You know, emails needs to be like, you know, you have the you have to kind of like set up a lot of validations and for email to kind of make sure everything is like the user when they input that it's actually an email. So Joy has that already set up. So I have the username, and also I want to add the password, and the password will be also joy.string. Just want to make sure it's a string, and also I'm going to use regex expression for this one. And what I wanted to add in my regex is that the first thing is like at least must contain must contain at least one lowercase, and must contain at least one uppercase. I want it also one numeric or one digit. And last but not least, I just don't want any, or maybe like I just want to add like a couple of special characters. I want to add maybe like exclamation point, at, hashtag, $. Yeah, that should work for now. I mean, I could go more, add more, but just like for the sake of the example, must contain at least one special character. Now, of course, with regex, the cool thing about regex is that like nobody actually can memorize the whole thing. Nobody can rememorize the syntax. So what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna use like the one that I always use. So I'm just gonna copy that and paste it in here. I do have it like set up on the side, and that basically. Also, I forgot the password should be between 8 and 32. So I don't want it to be less than 8. I don't want it to be more than 32. And this is my new regex. Voila. So it has a lot of you know, more characters. And honestly, this one I actually have more special characters, which I'm going to add right now. So all these right now is a validation, regex validation, to validate all that. Now, of course, this is going to be paying for the testing for us. So I'm just going to basically just comment this out for now. So we could basically, obviously, I said basically and obviously a lot. Sorry about that. So we can just do new regex expression for only to check, you know, just like, you know, characters like letters and numeric, like alphanumeric. Other than that, I just don't want it to be like more complicated, to make it easier for us. So I'll do A-Z. So now like from A to Z, and also all caps, and it will allow 0 to 9. So all digits, all characters, but without the special characters. And I wanted it to be between 8 and 12. I'll add $, and that should work. Cool. So now I set up my schema. All I want is to do is to create an error. So if schema, after schema validates, dot validate, and I will use rec.body, which basically is like the username and password. Errors will be, they will have like some details inside of it, which we're gonna filter out. We're gonna see if like this contains, if this error contains this word, then we're gonna just basically put that, if the, and so on and so forth. So we're going to check if there is an error. I'm going to use the switch statement. And my key is error.details. And this is an array. So we're going to take the first element, .context, .key. And of course, you can always check the package, the npm package, to see like how could you find this, because that's where I found the value of that. And in here, I will check if the key is called username. Then I want to return a response with a status of 400. And I'll send an error. And this error could say invalid email. And of course, I'm just going to change the I'll change the messaging, because what I need, no return. I'm going to change the messages because I don't want it to show like what's happening over there. Well, actually I do, because this is the sign up. What am I talking about? Great. So I'm just going to say, this is not an email, and you need to have a proper email to register. Maybe that's a long message. Again, as you know me, I'm not good at that. So you could just basically have your own personal message. Now password. And for the password, I could just show an error. Or what I can do is that having it, like I could show, must have like all these, but I would prefer just to capture like a normal error in here. Does not match the combination. And then like in the front end, I'll just capture this error. I'm not going to show this message, but what I'm going to do is simply just show my own message in there. I think that will be good. So we're going to remove the default. We don't want to have that. Well, actually we do, because, switch cases, you have to have a default. So what do we need? We want the same thing, and we could just say like in here, so just in case anything happened other than that, so we could just say like invalid registration info. So anything that happens other than username, any error happens other than username and password, that's where the default kicks in. Great. I don't know, for some reason I lost my parenthesis color, so don't mind that. We're gonna call the next method, and that should be set up for our signup. Now I can go back to the controllers, and actually not the controller, in the routes. And then for the signup, I can add signup, and we can call signup from here. Cool. So now let's go test it out. I do think I have my server running. Cool, we do. So let's see. Sign up, let's send. This is not an email. You need an email to have a proper email for registration. So let's check at Gmail. Send, we're gonna see the same message. When I say .com, I'll save that, and then it's just gonna say like invalid registration information, because I guess the password didn't catch up. Let's see what is happening. Errors, errors, errors. Welcome to my world. Where was I? In the middleware. That's why. I told you there was gonna be a lot of typos. Great, let's do send again, and now the password does not match the combination. And the combination is actually, it has lowercase, uppercase, and number. So I'm going to do PASS and 1, 2, 3. Now send. Still did not. Oh, it has to be between 8 and 12. Got it. So actually, let me change that because it's going to be a pain. I was going to save that 6 to 12. And now I errored. Oh, it's still running the server. And now it's working. And that's how you set up some sort of validation. Now, Joy, you could use it in anywhere in your application. It's a great package. I use it all the time to capture, and it has a lot of options you can check to basically set up your validation. It's very simple to hook up. It's not that complicated. All right, now we just finished our login, authentication, and validation. We will be ending our part 4 in the series. In the next video, we will start working on our React app to handle the front end. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when the next video is uploaded. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, stay curious.